wealth, and build legacy. Okay. And these are the areas that we help clients in. But today we are going to focus on getting to the next slide. Today we're going to focus on these two building blocks, cash flow and build wealth. Okay. Because we're talking about cash flow in retirement. So you need the money to continue flowing. And we're talking about build wealth because as you build wealth through your working years, right, then that's what you're going to use to have cash flow in retirement. So we're going to talk about these two areas and how you can really strengthen and make them truly unbreakable.
Yeah. And I want to make sure you guys can see us okay. So just let us know in the chat. Just turning the chat on here. If you can see us okay with the slides in the background, can you all see us okay? So just let us know in the chat if you can see us okay, hear everything.
Oh,
All right,
so I guess
great.
it doesn't matter if the picture is even or not, right?
Correct.
We have a
Yeah.
picture behind us, and I was looking at the frame, and it
All
was
right.
crooked. So I guess it doesn't matter.
Okay. You can see us and hear us okay. We're trying a little different style for the Zoom today. All right. So yeah, we'll continue.
So we're talking about 6 building blocks to an unbreakable financial house, and the purpose of retirement, of a retirement account, is to create enough cash flow so you can have the freedom to do the things that you want in life.
Mm-hmm. So this topic, cash flow for life, how to turn your retirement savings into a paycheck that never stops. So we actually surveyed people on the subject of retirement. We asked people, what do you want when it comes to retirement? What do you want? And a lot of times for people, retirement wasn't about just lounging all day and sitting around all day. It was about them doing things they really wanted to do, but having the resources to do it. And the number one thing that came up for people is, I want to make sure I never run out of money. How do I make sure I never run out of money? That was the biggest thing people wanted to know. So you may have spent your entire life working, saving, planning for retirement. I'm an immigrant to America. When I first came to America, they told me when I started working, they're like, you should get a retirement account. I'm like, what the heck is that? And why do I need one? They're like, just put it in there so that when you're old, you can have enough money. I'm like, okay. I wasn't thinking about retiring when I first started working. But when you start being in the workforce for, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and then you start thinking, well, maybe I want to do something different, it helps to have the resources necessary. And it's important to have enough resources so that you can play the games you want to play. I think of retirement not as somebody stopping or ending. I think of it as somebody's starting a new game. So you might be finishing out one game. Maybe the game you were doing where you worked in a particular field for 40 years and now you want to do a new game. Or maybe you want to do something a little bit different with that game. So retirement is about that. The start of a new game, winding down of one game, start a new game, doing different things you want to do. But when you have resources, you're able to play the games you want to play, and you're able to stop playing the games you don't want to play. And so that's what happens when it comes to retirement. So maybe you did everything that you were told, and now you reach a certain age, and then something doesn't quite feel right. And the question that a lot of people have is, do I have enough? And is this money going to last? How do I make sure it lasts for as long as I'm going to live? So we'll cover some of that here during this webinar today. So here's the problem most retirees don't see coming. When you start planning and saving for retirement, this is almost often a last question in somebody's mind. So you could be sitting there, you're staring at your account, you reach a certain age, and you have a certain amount of money in your account. Some of it could be a lot, it could be little, maybe you have more than you thought, maybe you have less than you thought, and you're like, okay, how do I figure this thing out? But the question that the majority of people start asking as you get closer and closer to retirement is, how do I turn this pile of money into reliable income? So as you are saving for retirement, you're just throwing money in an account. You're throwing money in an account every week, every month, every year, and you're not thinking about income necessarily. You're just putting money, you're just accumulating this money in this account. And then at some point you're like, hey, well, I've been putting money into this account for decades. How is this account going to start paying me reliably where it doesn't run out? So here's something no one ever tells you when you start saving for retirement. Saving money is one thing. Just throwing money in an account, that's one thing. Making it produce income that lasts is a completely different subject, something completely different. And it requires a different mindset, a different approach, and a different view of that money. Because now instead of you feeding it, that account starts feeding you, and you have to make sure that account doesn't bleed dry, doesn't run out, and you have to predict that it continues to pay you without you running out of money. So, here's some of the common retirement nightmares that people face and have talked about. So picture this. You've been saving for however many years you've been doing it. You've got a retirement account. You open up your account one day as you're getting close to retirement, or you're in retirement, and then it's down 20%. So here's what that means in real dollars. If somebody has $1 million saved for their retirement, and then they go and open an account one day and $200,000 is gone. you know, that's for the average person in America, that's multiple years of earnings. 200 grand gone. And this happened. This is not like something that's never occurred before. This has happened many times throughout history. You had in early 2000s, people lost a big amount in their retirement accounts. 2008, people lost another big amounts in their retirement accounts. You had when COVID happened, people lost money in their retirement accounts. So a lot of times people will talk about the market recovering, and that's true. It happens, but you don't have an infinite timeline. You're not going to live to be 1,000 years old in the same, in that same. You're not going to have that. But our bodies don't last 1,000 years. Okay, so that means you get to a certain point where you want to make sure that you're protecting against those kinds of things happening to you. Because if you have $1 million and you're planning on taking income from it, and all of a sudden is now 800,000, that means all your calculations are wrong. Every single one of your calculations are wrong because the basis of your calculations has now changed. And you want to take a vacation. So here's what starts happening. You want to take a vacation, but you're scared you run out of money. I want to go visit my kids. I want to visit my grandbabies. I want to do all these different things. But all of a sudden, because this base of money you're counting on is slowly depleting or rapidly depleting, you start every decision starts to feel like, oh my goodness, should I do this? Should I wait? Should I, it's you start to become the effect of your money instead of being a cost point on your money. So you start watching the news. A lot of times people in retirement and they're looking at their finances, start watching the news. Every time you hear about the stock market going down or the market drop, you start getting anxious. Now, you may not have been that anxious when you were 20 years old or 30 years old because you were building up towards something. But when you reach, 60, 65 years old, every one of those market drops hurts you because you getting to a point where you're not going to be putting more and more money into it. You're going to start taking more and more money out of it. So you plan for retirement, but now you're working part-time just to feel safe. So this happened to a lot of people. So a lot of times people will start a new game. They will start working somewhere else because it's fun. Other times people start working somewhere else because they don't have enough resources. Recently, there was this gentleman. He went viral. This guy was working somewhere, and his financial position had changed for a bunch of different reasons. His financial position changed, and he was working at that job because he really, really, really needed the money in order to survive and to live. And people saw his story, and fortunately for him, somebody started a large GoFundMe thing and they retired the guy. But that's not going to happen to everybody, okay? In fact, it's not going to happen to the majority of people. The majority of people are not going to have, thousands of people supporting them through a GoFundMe campaign. It comes down to what you do as an individual. So you don't know how long you'll live, and that can make planning almost impossible. If a person's going to live to be, 90 years old, could they live to be 100? I saw a post the other day, a lady was 111 years old celebrating her birthday. So you don't know how long you'll live. So you want to make sure that your money lasts and you don't face these common retirement nightmares. All right, so what are some of the risks that you can face when it comes to retirement? First one is longevity risk. the risk that you could live to be a long time. So when you reach a certain age in America, there's this general agreement that the corporate world doesn't want to keep you on board as much anymore. That's just a general agreement. You know, that when you start reaching 60, 65 years old, maybe 70 years old, the corporate world starts saying, yeah, you know what, we need to phase you out and bring in somebody younger because they can also pay them less. You know, but it start kind of phasing you out. So sometimes even if you don't really want to retire, sometimes you get kind of forced out a little bit in there. So let's say you're 65 and you're going to live to be 95 years old. That's 30 years in retirement. Will the money you have saved stretch that far? That's one question there that person has to answer. Second thing is market volatility. What if the market's going up and down? So if you're retired, the market crashes, your balance drops, but your bills don't drop. You know, the phone company or your cable company or your mortgage doesn't say, you know what, I know you're living off this retirement income from your 401k or your IRA, and because you know the market went down last year, we're gonna reduce your bills by 20%. No, so you have less money, but your bills stay the same, or your bills can actually increase. Your phone bills could go up, all kinds of other things could go up, cost to live goes up, so you have less money and your costs go up. Now you start running out of money faster. That's another risk in retirement. There's another one called withdrawal uncertainty, which is basically whatever amount of money you have saved in a retirement account. You don't take it all out in 1 year. You take it out slowly. It's like a goose, the goose that lays the golden eggs. You don't take everything out. You don't kill the goose. You take a little bit out each year. So how much are you supposed to take out each year? Most advisors will tell you that you shouldn't take out more than 4% a year to live on. So what does that mean? That means if somebody has $1 million for retirement, 4% of that is $40,000 a year. So it's why even if you have 1 million, 2 million, 3 million in a retirement account, you never truly feel like a quote unquote millionaire because you're living on $40,000 a year or $80,000 a year, right? So 4% of $1 million is $40,000 a year. What if it costs you $40,000 a year to live? That means you would have to take out more money. And the more money you take out, the faster that account runs out. So you have to then balance. So even pulling out 4% a year can feel like gambling when everything starts costing more. The cost of goods and services have gone up over the last 5, 10 years. Since COVID, things have gone up. Just look at groceries, look at everything. It's gone up drastically. So you start to realize more and more that you're doing this delicate balance between trying to pull money out to live and also trying to make sure you don't run out of money. But if you keep staying tuned to all of this, there is a solution. Okay, we're not just bringing you down just to bring you down and tell you there's no hope. There are solutions on how you can solve every single one of these risks, and we'll show you that. Okay, so the other part is insufficient income. So there's a lot of people who their primary income is Social Security. Social Security alone is not going to be enough to keep you to have comfort and the lifestyle that you want to live, because Social Security wasn't meant for that. When Social Security started, people didn't live a long time in retirement. Social Security started, people were living till in their early 60s and passing away. So it wasn't like people were living to be 70, 80, 90 years old, 100 years old. So now, when the longer and longer people are living, the longer and longer they're on Social Security, the less and less money is available in Social Security. So eventually the Social Security Trust Fund runs out and you get reduced benefits. You're not going to get a full benefits. And so this is a very important subject for people to understand. 10 years from now or so, people could start getting reduced benefits from Social Security if Congress doesn't act. So Social Security alone is not going to be enough to keep somebody living the lifestyle they want to live. So the thing is, the scariest part is most retirees don't realize this until they're already in it. You already started putting money in a retirement account, maybe. You're already in the market without fully understanding it, what makes it go up or what makes it go down. You may not even know how much income you're supposed to take per year from your retirement account. So a lot of times people don't know the answers to these things. And so this is why we do these webinars to educate people. By the way, if there's any questions along the way, feel free to use the chat. Let us know. We'll answer along the way.
Okay, so what's the effect of these nightmares and risks of retirement? Well, it causes a lot of stress and uncertainty, and that can lead to inaction. Just like, I don't know what to do, and I don't want to look at it. I don't know what to do. And so you just maybe don't do anything. And so some people, this is what a lot of people are thinking and feeling and saying. And so as we're going through this, also think about where you are in this process. Like, are you saving for retirement? Are you getting ready to retire, or are you in retirement? And what are some of the thoughts and feelings and experiences that you're having to do with retirement? So have you thought about this? Like, I thought I was ready. A lot of people say, I thought I was ready to retire. Now I'm not so sure. Like when Martin was talking about, you open your account and you look and it's down 20%. Well, that's happened many times when the market has crashed and people are about ready to retire, and all of a sudden they can't retire because they don't have enough money. When I was 18 years old, I worked at E-Trade Securities. It's an online investment brokerage, and this is when online investing was very new. You used to have to like call your broker, or they would call you, and not everybody had 401ks that were just automatically, sending money to Wall Street. And so people did not have the ability to really like buy and sell their own investments. And so this was very new and very exciting. And a lot of people didn't know what they were doing and putting all their money into, these stocks and these investments. And then the market crashed. And a lot of people lost everything. And I had grown men calling me and crying, like, I lost everything, and they wanted me to do something about it. I couldn't do anything about it. And now they couldn't retire when they planned to. Some people are saying, I saved all this money, but I don't know how to turn it into income. So like Martin was talking before, it's very different from saving for retirement to then making that transition into actually retiring. And now you're having to live on that money. You don't have your income from your job or your business or whatever. Now this is your income. And so knowing the difference and how to be able to efficiently and properly do that is vital to your survival in retirement. And a lot of people may be thinking, if the market crashes again, what happens to me? Now, this is typically for people who have experienced or seen or been through market crashes. Then what happens too is a lot of people forget very quickly, or some people may have entered into the investment world like they haven't seen any market crashes, so it's not real to them. They don't actually know what that is like. But just like Martin said, imagine opening your account and you're thinking about your plans in retirement, and all of a sudden you lost $200,000, you lost $1 million, whatever it is, and now everything completely changes. And so we want you to think about these things, not so you get scared and are in fear, but so that you know the risks that you're facing. And then we're going to show you the solution to make sure that doesn't happen to you. So these thoughts lead to hesitation and fear. You may delay decisions or keep your money sitting idle, but time is ticking and uncertainty grows. So it's one of the things that we help people do also is make it easy to confront and handle your money. And so it's not that you have to think about all of these things at once about how do I retire and make my money last. First, it's like, look at where you are. Like I said, are you saving for retirement? Are you about to retire? Are you in retirement? Okay, now you know where you are. And now, what do you have for retirement? Do you know how much you have? Do you know if it's enough? Where are you saving your money? And then we can start to, okay, now we know where you are. And now let's talk about what you need to be able to really have cash flow for life in retirement. So here's what you actually need. And before we go over that, I'll tell you what you don't need. Okay, you don't need to chase the next shiny investment. This is one of the most common questions that we get. What's the best investment? But there is no best investment, okay, because it's different for everyone. It depends on where you are in your stage of investing, where you are in your financial house. It depends on what you're trying to do, how much money you need, what your situation is. Are you caring for aging parents? Are you caring for children? Do you want to travel? Do you want to downsize? So there's all of these factors that go into what is an appropriate investment for you. I saw a post the other day and someone was asking, hey, I'm looking for investment options. Like, what are some suggestions? And all these people are saying what's worked for them or what they liked. But nobody knows anything about this person's situation, how much money they have, how much they're investing, what's the risk tolerance, like when do they need this money. All of these things factor into an appropriate or not appropriate investment for you. And it's important to not get distracted and enticed by, you know, the exciting things that are being shown or what worked for somebody else. It's important to know what is right for you. So you don't need the hope that the market cooperates. That is very risky. And you don't need to waste more time worrying and uncertain. Okay, we want to move you into action and certainty. So you need income that you can count on. You need a monthly paycheck that arrives like clockwork, no matter what happens to the market, the news, or your health. Whether the market's up or down, you receive the money. Whether your health changes, that is the number one cause of bankruptcy. If somebody has medical issues, and that the likelihood of that increases in retirement the older that you get. So being able to factor that in and having enough cash flow and resources to be able to cover those things. So imagine this is what we want to help you to transition into and think and experience. Okay, imagining opening your account. This is in retirement. Imagine you're in retirement, you open your account, and every single month you get a deposit no matter what. And it's the amount that you need to live on. Okay, imagine knowing it's guaranteed for life no matter how long you live. And imagine what it feels like to retire with certainty instead of stress. Not worrying if you're going to be able to enjoy retirement, not worrying if you're going to outlive your money, but knowing and having confidence and certainty that you have the money that you want and need, and it's going to last you as long as you last. Okay, so here's the solution. Cash flow for life. We talked about how to create cash flow for life in retirement. So this is something that's market proof, as we talked about before. It's not affected by the market. Doesn't matter if the market goes up or down. It's recession proof. So it doesn't shrink when the economy gets shaky. Okay. Flexible timing. So depending on when you want to retire, if you want to save up for a while, if you want to retire now, you know, being able to have that flexibility of when you want to actually start taking your money. So cash flow for life is a way to turn your retirement savings into a steady monthly income that lasts as long as you do. And it's a retirement income stream that you wish you knew about 10 years ago, but we're telling you about it now. So what is it?
So we basically look at this as it's called your personal pension strategy. So we're talking about a simple modern plan that does two things: to grow your money, pay you income you can't outlive. So a lot of times in America, you just look back at history and what worked. So for many, if you look back in history, when people retire successfully, so a lot of times there's you'll see if you Google retirement crisis, you'll see for the last 10, 15, 20 years, there's been a lot of documentaries, lots of different things to talk about America's retirement crisis. One, people are living longer. Number two, people were not prepared, meaning they were not taught how to on their own plan for their retirement. So back in the day, when people retired successfully, when more and more people retire successfully. Now, of course, there are some people retire successfully, have enough money, but the majority of people, when they retire successfully, they had a pension. So a pension was essentially where somebody worked somewhere for X amount of years, and then when they retired, they got a check every month for the rest of their life. They didn't have to worry about money. It's almost like they still kept getting paid, but they were no longer working at that job anymore. So that was the ideal situation for people. And pensions go back thousands of years. Okay, so it goes back, not thousands, but over 1,000 years ago. You can look back in Roman times and all that. You'll see in the history of pensions is that the Romans would actually pay the legionnaires, the soldiers, when they retired, they would pay them income so that they didn't attack the empire. So that was their payment. They worked for, they were a legionnaire, they worked, they worked in the Roman military, and then when they retire, they would get a pension. And so that concept carried on and carried on and carried on. And a lot of that changed in 1980. In the 1980s, what happened was Wall Street lobbied so that the pension system would change in America because Wall Street didn't dramatically control the pension system. So in the 1980s, they changed the entire retirement system in America changed from a pension-based system to the 401k and IRA and the Wall Street-based system that you have today. Now, while that change was important to Wall Street because it got you to automatically send them money, whereas before the pension plans were managed by institutions. A lot of people didn't think about their pensions. They worked a certain amount of years and then they got a pension. But then when that shifted, you had people now without so much knowledge or understanding about how to invest for their own retirement, all of a sudden found themselves facing this choice that I have to invest on my own. I've never been trained on investing, but now I have to invest on my own and make sure that I do everything right and make sure my money grows and make sure I get enough income and make sure this money lasts the rest of my life without anything wrong happening. And that became a tall order for people to run into. So with this personal strategy that we help people with, personal pension strategy, it goes back to taking a person's retirement account and making it their own personal pension where they get monthly payments that never stop no matter how long you live, like Chelsea mentioned over there. So you can even get a bonus, which is an immediate 10 or 20% return on your existing retirement account, on the actual account itself that you have. And then when you pass away, any money that's left in your account is paid directly to beneficiaries. So pensions in the past would sometimes stop when you passed away. So you do receive a pension and then it would stop when you passed away. Well, nowadays, your own personal pension strategy can actually, if you have money in that account, it can be paid directly to your beneficiaries. So one thing to understand is also your income gap, which means that the income gap is there's a certain amount of money it costs you to live, and there's a certain amount of money you have for retirement whenever you retire. We find out a lot of people have this gap, and that gap is they have more expenses than their retirement account is going to produce for them. So they have to figure out a way to close that gap. And sometimes people start closing that gap before they retire. Sometimes people have to close that gap after they retire. And if you don't have enough money to close that gap, you start taking more and more out of your retirement account, which ensures it runs out even faster because you're taking more than you should from that account to make it last. So here's a step-by-step walkthrough on how to actually have your own personal pension strategy. And this is something we specialize in helping clients do. All right. And so let's say you're retiring right now. You can say, I have a retirement account and I want to start taking income right away. Because remember, your 401k and your IRA, unless your traditional 401k and traditional IRA, they don't have any guarantees in them. They generally don't have any guarantees. Your 401k doesn't guarantee a set amount every month for the rest of your life, generally. So you have to make sure that you do that for yourself. So that way you can make sure you don't run out of money. A 401k isn't really a pension plan. So that means if you got $1 million in your 401k and you just keep taking that money out, eventually it goes to zero and there's no money in there anymore. And if it doesn't grow, continue to grow, eventually you run out of money before you run out of time. So let's say maybe they're not ready to start taking retirement income. Maybe you're 60 and you want to start taking income at 65 or 70. You can actually take income later, but your account grows for even more income every month. So you can actually keep your account growing before you start taking income from it. So, and you can decide how much you want to use. So we have clients who have a retirement account and it'll take some of it. They may not take all of it, but it may take some of it and reposition it into their own personal pension plan so they know exactly how much money they're going to have every month for their lifestyle. So if you know it costs you X amount of dollars to live, you should be able to say with full certainty, I have a plan that is going to pay me at the exact amount I need every month for the rest of my life. If you can't answer that question with 100% certainty, it means there's a gap or there's a hole in your retirement plan. Because at some point you could get to a stage where you could run out of money. You should be able to guarantee the income you need to live every month when you retire. And so that's something we help clients to do. So some people may put a portion in there and say, well, you know what? This portion of my retirement is going to pay me every month for the rest of my life. The rest of my retirement, I'm going to keep it flexible for unforeseen emergencies, for growth, etc. And so we make sure that clients with the programs that we do, clients get paid automatically into their bank accounts and get monthly payment of annual payments, and the payments last the rest of their life because that worked successfully for people. So if you think about it, if you had a check coming to you every month for the rest of your life, no matter how long you live, you have less and less attention on money. You have more and more attention on living, things you want to do because you're not so worried about your cash flow. The reason why people have so much attention on money is because they're worried about their cash flow. They don't know if they're going to have enough cash flow coming into them, so they're concerned about it. If you have enough cash flow coming into you, you have no attention on money because you have enough coming into you to cover your expenses. No attention on it. You put more attention on living your life, which is the game we're playing to help people move beyond this so much attention stuck on money and more attention on what they really want to do in life. So,
All right,
yeah,
so here's a real life example. Linda, who's 62, had 400,000 in an IRA, so that's an individual retirement account, and she wanted it to grow and create guaranteed monthly income. So she received an $80,000 bonus added to her account right away by transitioning it into this strategy. And she'll likely take income at 70, which would pay her $54,000 a year for life, her entire life, no matter how long she lives. Her account will grow each year, no matter what happens on Wall Street. Market goes up, market goes down, she will still get $54,000 a year for life, and her account will continue to grow. And then when added to her Social Security and other savings, then she's able to cover all her expenses and maintain her standard of living. So when Martin showed that graph of the income gap, the Social Security, the savings, and you have this guaranteed income for life, and she's able to maintain her standard of living.
All right, so here's why it works and why it's different, and why sometimes people have heard about this strategy, sometimes people haven't. So here's your comparison of your traditional retirement planning. So traditional retirement planning is you put all your money into mutual funds. So mutual funds is a combination of stocks and bonds that you buy, and most people don't understand A, which mutual funds they're in, number two, who's even the mutual fund manager, number three, what the risk level in the mutual fund. Most people have very little knowledge on the mutual funds. Here's generally how it works. This is how it worked for me when I first got a job and I started working in America. Is you go to your HR department and then you check some boxes, and then I picked a mutual fund that says growth because like what I want my money to do, I want it to grow. So I picked a growth mutual fund. I had no idea the risk level on that mutual fund. I had no idea what portion of it was stocks, what portion of it were bonds. I knew nothing about it. But here I was putting my hard-earned money into something I had no understanding about. But that's how it works. And there's a lot of people on Wall Street that benefit from you not knowing. They even have a name for it. They call average investors, they call it dumb money. Dumb money. They think because you're an average person investing in America, they think you're dumb and don't understand, and they feel like many of them are sophisticated. So they call it dumb money, where you just throw money to them without really having an understanding of what's happening, what they're doing with it, and what's going on. And then the traditional retirement planning says withdraw 4% each year. But as we've mentioned, well, what if it costs you more than 4% a year to live and you need more than that? So we show people how to actually able to safely get more than 4% a year and have it guaranteed for the rest of their life. So they're actually able to receive a lot more money than that standard 4% each year that they're taking. And a lot of times with traditional retirement planning, they don't have any guarantees and they're hoping it lasts. They're hoping this money lasts. And it doesn't become as real to people until they're 10 years in retirement, 15 years in retirement, and they start looking at how much money is spent over those 10 years, and it starts to get very, very real to them. There's a lot of clients who come to us 75 years old, and they're scared because over those last 10 years from 65 to 75, they spent more money than they anticipated. And now they're like, okay, well, I'm 75. I still feel really good. I could live to be 90, 95 years old. I got a much smaller amount of money than I thought. What do I need to do from here? But actually, if you plan it even before that, it makes it even better. So the traditional retirement planning over the years is full of a lot of holes. You're relying on markets, emotions, and you're relying on a lot of luck. You're hoping that emotions you're relying on is you're hoping other people that are investing also kind of stay within the market too. But sometimes those people get scared and they exit. And when they exit, the values of that investment goes down and then you become affected by that. So cash flow for life allows you to take part of your retirement savings and locks in certainty. When it comes to retirement, a key word is certainty. You want to have certainty of cash flow. If you don't have certainty of cash flow, you have ups and downs, and you have that's that's you're not risk. When you have certainty, you're not risking something that you can't afford to lose, and that's freedom. And if you want to take other money and do other things with it, fine. But there should be a portion of your money that is earmarked for certainty, knowing that you have a certain amount of cash flow every month for the rest of your life.
All right, so here's what to do next. If this interests you and you want to see if this strategy is right for you, you can schedule a free discovery call. No pressure. This is just, we're going to learn a little bit more about where you are now and what you're looking to handle and see if this is even appropriate for you. And so we want to help you with the next steps. We'll walk you through the best options for you and help you to understand where you are, where you want to be, and really what it's going to take to get there.
So I'm putting the website in the chat.
Oh, yeah. So that would be good to know is where to request that discovery call. Is
Yeah.
you could go to sixbuildingblocks.com/discovery. And Martin put that in the chat. sixbuildingblocks.com/discovery. So be sure to copy that before we sign off. And that way you can go there. You can request a call and we'll just have a discussion. And if you have any other questions, we're happy to talk to you and see how we can help. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat as well. And we'd love to know if this is helpful for you, if you learned something new, if you identify with any of these risks or fears or uncertainties, or where you are in that stage. I think there's one more.
Oh, okay.
I think there's one more slide, and it's our final thought.
Okay, hold on. Let me put that here.
There it is.
Hold on. Let me put that back on the screen. Just give me 1 second.
Oh, we can see it, but they can't see it.
Yeah. So here.
We can see Sister Charlene's beautiful face.
Yeah. This is how we had it in. Okay.
There it is. Okay, can they see it?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, go ahead. So this is, just give me a second, guys. Let me make that back full screen so it's there. And if there's if you have any questions or anything that if you want to put in the comments, you can put there. So the final thoughts with you guys is, look, you've built or you're continuing to build your wealth. You want to make sure to protect it and enjoy it. So cash flow for life isn't about risk. There's many things you'll do in life that has a lot of risk. Retirement shouldn't be about risk. It should be about reliability. It's about knowing that the life you built will keep paying you back. So you can absolutely make that happen. We do this every week. We do this for clients. We have clients on average, our clients reposition $300,000 or so. We have some clients who put in a lot more, some clients put in a lot less, but over $250,000 on average that clients will put into these strategies and make sure they get income for life, and also you can get a bonus. You can actually get a bonus on your retirement account. So we help people with these strategies because I've helped my mom with strategies like this, Chelsea's moms, Chelsea's parents. So one of the biggest things is making sure we want people to retire with with dignity, and not have to rely on hopes and making sure something works out. So feel free to take advantage of clicking on the link, schedule a time with us. We'll discuss with you, and we can even show you numbers. If you have an existing retirement plan, we can show you what you have compared to a cash flow for life strategy, and you can see a comparison. Oh, so this is what I have, this is what it will do for me, this is what cash flow for life would do for me. And so you can see the differences between those strategies. All right. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Anything you want to say before we wrap up?
Well, just I'm glad that it did pay off our background earlier. This picture was not straight in the frame, and so we adjusted, but then you guys had the slides as the background, so I thought, oh, it didn't matter anyways, but now it did. I'm so glad you guys got to see the straight frame.
Okay, good.
We look forward to helping you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we look forward to speaking with you soon.
All right. Bye, everyone.